And today I wanted to talk to you about what do you do to get over hump day. But first, maybe I should explain what hump day really is, because some of my team who aren't in Australia, when I reference hump day, they were kind of like, what do you mean? So here in Australia, well, at least the people that I talk to, Hump Day was colloquially referred to as Wednesday because it's kind of the middle of the week. It's kind of the day you sort of have to get over to get to the weekend. You know, you have to sort of get over and get through it. And usually, what I find the inability to get through Hump Day is because motivation's lacking. All right, you get that, right? Sort of, you start the week, you start off really energetic, and then you sort of get to Wednesday and you slow down, and you just need that motivation to get over, to get through, to get, to over the hump so you can slide into the later part of the week and the weekend. So when you think about that, when you think about the motivation that's needed to get through Hump Day, there's two types of motivation. There's intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, which is really just a fancy way of saying internal and external motivation. Now, external motivation is the one that we're most familiar with, right? It's the external deadlines, the pressure, all those expectations that come from outside of us. Whereas the internal motivation is what no one actually sees or knows about. It's what's going on inside here. So maybe you're motivated internally to get things done because you're worried about what others will think if you don't get it done. Or maybe you're internally motivated by the thought of competing with others. You perceive others are getting ahead of you, so that motivates you to do more. Or maybe your internal motivation comes from that sheer determination not to fail, right? Like you just absolutely are not going to fail at any cost. Now, when you think about those forms of motivation, those internal forms of motivation, there's nothing wrong with any of them, right? In fact, like I say to my clients all the time, nothing they say or do, or nothing we say or do is wrong. It's really just a matter of perspective. But what do all these internal motivations have in common? They all feel just a little negative and exhausting, right? You're either worried about what other people think, or you're trying to keep up with them, or you're just grinding so that you get it done and you don't fail. So what if, in addition to those external motivations, like the deadlines, which, we have to meet, you could actually internally motivate yourself a little bit more positively? You'd probably have more energy, right? You'd probably just have that more get up and go and, feel a little bit more aligned and in tune. So try this little tip. Ask yourself, who really needs you on your A game? Who really needs you to get over, to go through, to smash through that hump? After my son was born, it was a while ago now, he developed a severe case of eczema. I can remember going into him one morning, when he was waking up in his cot, and he was absolutely, my alarm, absolutely, that's how you know it's live, right? Absolutely covered with blood. And I freaked out because it was everywhere. But what had happened is he'd scratched himself bloody in the night because he just had eczema everywhere. And look, cutting a long story short, after a whole bunch of investigation and doctors and all the rest of it, they worked out that the eczema was probably due to severe food allergies. But because he was a baby, and at that time, they didn't really have the tests to diagnose what those allergies were. So the best that we could do was an elimination diet. And because I was breastfeeding him, I was the one that had to go on the diet. So I don't know about you, but I've tried dieting many times before, and I'm not really very good at it. But the difference this time was for my son. He needed me on my A game, so that internal motivation to diet for me was huge. I mean, the next day I went on the elimination diet. Over the course of 5 months, we determined every single one of his allergies. I never dropped so much weight again in my life because the motivation to diet, was really for him. He needed me on my A game. So when you feel like your motivation is waning, like when it feels like it's kind of difficult to get through that week, ask yourself, who needs you on your A game? Maybe it's your family, Or maybe it's your team, or maybe it's your clients, or maybe it's your community. Who is it that really needs you to be motivated to do your very best? If you want more tips like this on how to stay motivated, just comment tips below and I'll get them to you. And just remember, you can unleash your unique version of success. See you next time.